make this bigger. Here we go. That's better. All right. So we're going to start now.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Today we have Theresa here, and she is a woman of all traits, as I've learned from her website. So I'm going to let her explain to you guys exactly what she does, but we're going to find out who she is, where she's from, and what she currently does. So go ahead, Theresa.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I am Theresa Tyler. I am a relationship coach with Love and Ambition, and I help ambitious women transform their relationships from the inside out. So that means I work with the way that they think about love and about connection so that they can create more fulfillment in their relationships. Um, about me personally, I am a foreign service wife. So my husband is a foreign service officer. We bounce around the world, sometimes about around the country when we're in the United States. And I am also a former attorney. Excuse me. So I've worn quite a few different hats. Right now, we're actually living in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So that's where I'm
Oh,
currently.
really?
Yeah, yeah. So we've been here for the last, I think, 7 months now. We moved obviously during the pandemic, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, I was
But
about to ask you, how was it moving in the middle of a pandemic in a different country? Oh my God.
it was super rough. Like nothing went the way that it's supposed to go. I mean, there are all of these like procedures in place because we do the foreign service does this all the time. We bounce around all of the time, and
Uh-huh.
usually it's pretty smooth. But I mean, when you have offices closed, when you have people working from home, and when you just don't have the same support, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. Plus, we have a dog, and he's in the back sleeping. You can see the corner of him over there sleeping. So he had to get on a 10-hour flight, and it
Oh,
was so scared, but he made it.
oh. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah. But we're originally from Florida.
Okay.
So, yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool to just move around the country.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's always hard to go somewhere and kind of start over and make
Yeah.
new connections, and it sucks to leave that behind. But I love the adventure. I love seeing new things. I love meeting new people. I love expanding my horizons. So, I mean, it works.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So since you're a coach, a relationship coach, I'm pretty sure that your past has caused you to take that path. So if you want to just share with our listeners and watchers what exactly turned you to being a relationship coach.
Okay. Um, so I'm kind of a complicated person, and I'm going to
Aren't we? We're all a little complicated, so you're okay. Welcome
true,
to the
true,
club.
true. But I'll focus on what have been the biggest influences for me in becoming a relationship coach.
Okay.
And I know that your thing is fitness and wellness.
Yeah.
And my biggest fitness and wellness challenge was always managing how I felt because I struggled with depression.
Mm-hmm.
And actually runs in my family. So from a child, I was dealing with a lot of depression. I'm also biracial, and I was raised by my mom, who's white, and I really only had connection with the white side of my family. So I also grew up with this kind of sense of not quite belonging, not quite knowing who I was. And when you're depressed and having all of that stuff going on, and then you have this kind of my family doesn't exactly get what it's like to be, obviously, they don't get what it's like to be Black.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like another layer of emotional stuff that I wasn't prepared to deal with as a child or even as a young adult. And even now, it's still a challenge. It still creates challenges for me. Anyway, all of those things kind of going on. I was just really, really depressed sometimes, and other times I would be fine. It was definitely like a cycle. I would have phases where yeah, it wasn't a problem. Then I would have phases where I was just like crushed. I was almost non-functional because I was just so depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating right or sleeping or any of that, which I think you can relate to. But I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
doing, yeah, I wasn't doing anything that I was supposed to do, and it's horrible. And I would get really, really dark. And if I didn't change that, honestly, I'm not sure that I would be here. That's just how serious, my depression was for me. So I've seen tons of professionals over the years. I've worked with psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, coaches, and really what it came down to for me, the thing that stuck was just doing the work that I do now with love and ambition. It was changing how I think and taking responsibility for my feelings. But to do that, it was a complete lifestyle change. It wasn't just think happy thoughts, it wasn't just tweak a couple things. It was a complete and total lifestyle change. It was practicing mindfulness. It was being aware of how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. It was completely owning that. No one else can make me happy. No one else can make me feel loved. That stuff has to come from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That also means feeling my feelings, which they say all the time, and it doesn't really mean anything until you start doing it. But instead of avoiding my feelings with TV or social media or working too much, it's I feel like crap, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to experience feeling like crap until I'm able to tolerate it, and still be able to function and be okay, because feelings are going to happen. I can't
Mm-hmm.
avoid them.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course there's the habits. There's the self-care, there's the boundaries. So I mean, as you can see, it's just a huge lifestyle change that
Yeah.
has to happen. And it really is a lifestyle. It's not just I'm gonna do this today or I'm gonna do this week. It's like, no, I'm gonna completely live differently because I want to feel differently. Um, that also meant, in my case, changing my career, because I wasn't getting anything out of being an attorney. And honestly, it's something that I chose because it was safe, it was acceptable, it's what
I
made
trust
other
me, I
people
understand.
happy. Yeah, so it's like part of my managing my how I feel, part of managing my depression, part of my whole journey was doing love and ambition, was creating this world where I was doing coaching and relationship coaching specifically, because my depression affected my marriage, my depression affected my friendships, and my depression plus being biracial created huge challenges with my family and relating to my family. And a lot of the work that I did there it taught me so much about the overlap between how I feel about myself versus how I can relate to others and how I can create good relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just something that I wanted to share with people. That's something that no matter who you are or what you've been through, relationships are hard. We can all relate to struggling to have healthy relationships, and we can all relate to struggling to feel good about ourselves just on a regular basis. And that's just what I want to do with Love and Ambition. I want to reach women that have these same kind of stories and experiences that I've had, and I want to be part of the conversation on mental wellness.
Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome, because personally, for myself, I've been suffering from depression, anxiety, and body dysphoria since I was 16 years old. So, and it's
Yeah.
still a struggle, and I'm almost 30. So it's still a struggle every day. And then when you mention, you having a career where it's safe, and you're getting kind of what you want out of it. I'm in law enforcement, so it's not really safe because I'm out on injury right now, but but it's safe because I have benefits. I have a pension. I have health insurance that's out of this world. I get a raise every year. Like I get overtime. Like I don't really have to work hard for anything. But in the same sense, being home, I'm learning that I'm not really happy with my career choice. So I 100%, understand where you're coming from. And then with relationships with your family and them dealing with this mental health uh, illness through generations and through genetics and stuff. We found out that my brother a few years ago has bipolar, and we had no idea. And I have depression and anxiety. So obviously this is running in the family, but no one's paying attention to it. But
Mhm.
then this also goes to me opening up the Pandora box when it comes to, sorry if I'm offending anybody, but to African American families who don't really believe that mental illness is a big issue within the
Right.
Black culture, because the first thing that they like to say is just go pray it away.
Mhm.
And that's what I was kind of taught, but that kind of pushed me off of religion. And it goes with a lot. So I totally understand where you're coming from in your story, because Black folk, not just Black folk, but in general, we downplay mental illness and don't think that it's very important as it should be. So
Mhm.
it's very interesting. Even though you say you grew up in a mostly, with your mother who's white, and you didn't really have, the connections with your black family, who is your father, it still runs, no matter who you are. And it just shows, how there's a disconnect, and seeing that this is an issue that needs to be fixed as soon as
Right.
possible. So that
Right.
way those skills once you get older and how to deal with it. Because like you say, you have your periods when you're up, you have your periods when you're down. I had a depressive um state, I guess they call it like a manic depressive state, whatever, for probably 4 5 months last year. So I understand totally where you're coming from. So it's a lot to deal with, and it feels good when you actually use what you've been through to actually help other people to get through what you've been through, showing what you've learned. And you also learn other stuff, because like I've been on medication just like you. I've been to psychologists, and going to church and doing this, doing that, doing that, doing that. And then it wasn't until probably a few years ago where I actually took it in control for myself and actually understood how to deal with it. Because other people try to tell you what to do, but it's ultimately what you think that you need to do, whatever works for you. So I totally get it. 100%. 100%. So, what's the number one thing? Because I know you mentioned a few things, recognizing that, what's best for you, and, doing, what helps you the most, even if you're been to several professionals in regards to mental health. What is your biggest tip that you give ambitious women for having a healthy relationship for themselves and others?